Novak Djokovic has finally done it. Listen, guys, I am so happy for him. I am so happy for him. You could see how much it actually meant to him, even after the semifinal win versus Lorenzo Musetti when he threw himself on the ground. Like, you do not see that often. You do not see Novak reacting like that after beating somebody like Lorenzo Musetti. Is a really nice player, but in a semifinal, you could see how much it actually meant to him to reach that final and, of course, finally win the Olympic gold, to climb that mountain and basically complete tennis. Like, of course, he didn't win Newport yet, but just joking. Listen, it was amazing, and it's actually fascinating how much did I get all of my predictions wrong when it comes to Novak's season. I thought that he was going to sort of repeat the 2023 season when I think I had him winning. I had him winning Australia, Roland Garros, and U.S. Open, and not winning Wimbledon, I think. Similar to last year, or the other way around. I'm not really sure. But anyways, everything was kind of off this season. And listen, when you're sixth in the ATP race and it's a catastrophical season when you're a Wimbledon finalist and a Australian Open semifinalist and it's considered to be a awful season, you know your standards are high. But Novak didn't play a lot of tournaments. He was kind of on and off when it comes to form, motivation. I mean, mostly questions about his motivation and determination, especially when playing minor tournaments. And of course, a couple of unfortunate injuries like the meniscus tear, the water bottle thing. But yeah, he fought back and actually. When he beat Tsitsipas and when it turned out that he didn't get injured significantly in that match, when he slipped on that line, I kind of started believing that, listen, he might do it. I think low-key it was really important for Musetti to beat Zverev because psychologically I think Novak knows that Zverev can go out there and serve 85% and be really nasty and annoying. And Zverev beat him a couple of times in the past, of course, including the Tokyo semifinal. So that was probably a relief for Novak to know that he's going to play Musetti. And Musetti is a difficult player to play, especially for Novak. But he knows that when he plays really good, he has Musetti covered, and he should beat Lorenzo Musetti. So I think that was low-key important. And in the final, it was sort of like peak Novak Djokovic when it comes to clutchness. Saved every single break point, and of course Alcaraz saved every single break point too. But Novak just was better in the tie breaks. He was determined to win. He absolutely rocketed a couple of forehand winners, and it was amazing to watch. His movement was amazing, his serving was amazing, and it truly felt like a big match. To play 2 sets for 3 hours is absolutely ridiculous. We don't really make lists for greatest 2-set matches of all time, but that has to be up there somewhere, right? Like, what other 2-set matches lasted 3 hours and was that high of a quality? And of course, importance. Like, you could see that the crowd was included in it from the first point. You could sense that it was a big match, even bigger than Nadal versus Djokovic in the second round, because I think most of the audience knew that Novak was going to beat Nadal. Maybe not as comfortably as it looked at 6-1, 4-0, but yeah, I think Novak was the overwhelming favorite over Rafa there. And this was kind of like, yes, Alcaraz is the favorite, and he beat him at the Wimbledon final, but you never know. Like, the excuse me, the greatness in this Alcaraz-Djokovic rivalry, and this is why I put it way ahead of Djokovic and Sinner or Sinner and Alcaraz. And this is like a true epic, once-in-a-lifetime rivalry, and it's unfortunate that Novak has to get old because I would love to watch this rivalry for a couple more years. It's because it's sort of like goat versus baby goat. You do not know what to expect on any surface, because it's weird when you think about it. Novak is a 7-time Wimbledon champion, but Alcaraz beat him twice on grass, and the second one was really convincing. And then Alcaraz is ridiculously good on clay, but Novak is now up 2-1 head-to-head. Beat him at the French, beat him in the Olympic finals. And then on hardcourt, Novak beat him twice, but you do not know what to expect. Alcaraz had a match point in the Cincinnati final, for example. So it's like they can go out and play phenomenal matches, different style of tennis, different surfaces, and there is this mutual respect between Novak, who thinks really highly of Alcaraz as this guy who might one day break his records, and Alcaraz has great respect for Novak as this all-time greatest of all time. So the dynamic is great. And I'm a person who kind of always thinks that there has to be a little bit of spice, there has to be a little bit of jealousy, hatred for a rivalry to be great. For example, Nadal, Djokovic, they respect each other, but you could sense that they do not like each other that much. Or Federer, Djokovic is maybe a better example for that. And that's why I thought it was that great. But when it comes to those rivalries, you could actually guess the outcome of matches quite often, depending on surfaces, depending on tournaments, depending on, other factors. And this Djokovic-Alcaraz rivalry is great because when you think that one person is going to win, the other person wins. And then you simply just do not know what's going to happen. So I think it's an awesome rivalry. And as I mentioned, I think it's better than Sinner Djokovic because, I don't know, the quality of the matches is just simply higher. The points feel more important. Alcaraz truly feels like an all-time talent, like an all-time great. Even, like, it's funny because Andy Murray retired a couple of days ago. And if Carlos Alcaraz retires tomorrow, Alcaraz is a better player than Andy Murray because he has more slams, he has roughly the same weeks at number one, and of course he has less volume stats such as Masters tournaments, overall tournaments, but something like that. But it's like this Carlos Alcaraz at 21. I mean, you have to put him ahead of a lot of all-time greats. Like, he's probably, if he retires today, he's probably a top 10 tennis player all time at age 21. So imagine that. That's absolutely ridiculous. He just completed the Channel Slam and almost won the Olympic gold medal at the age of 21, which is absolutely ridiculous when I think about it. I'm kind of jumping from one topic to another. But another great thought is that Novak never won a slam without dropping a set. And now he won the Olympics without dropping a set. So that was also great to see. Another thought that popped up to my mind was that the Messi Djokovic comparison and the storyline is really similar. They're actually, when is Messi's birthday? Like in July 7th, something like July or June, something like that. So they were born maybe a month and a half apart. They have broken every single record. They have won more individual trophies than anybody else has won, or team trophies or whatever. And there was that one thing missing. And of course, Messi and the Olympics, Messi and the World Cup was much bigger than Djokovic and the Olympics because the World Cup is arguably the biggest, I mean, not arguably, I mean, it's kind of the undisputed biggest tournament in football, right? It has more weight than the Champions League. When it comes to Olympics, there are arguments about the Olympic weight, but, for Novak, obviously it meant a lot. It was the one tournament that he never won, and of course both of them won versus the toughest possible opponent, Messi against France, Novak against Carlos Alcaraz, and it was epic. And you could see the emotion, you can see the celebrations. Now, I want to talk about the weight of the Olympics. Listen, I was never really into tennis in the Olympics, and I think I'll give you an example. Felix Auger-Aliassime is the perfect example why the Olympics are just really unfair and therefore kind of don't have the same value, not even as a season-ending ATP tournament, in my opinion. Felix Auger-Aliassime just played 6 matches, won 4, lost 2, plus he played doubles, right? He didn't win shit. He came in 4th. He ended the tournament with 2 losses. Now he has to fly to Canada, being bummed out because he lost 2 consecutive matches, got destroyed by Alcaraz and lost a tight set to Musetti. And now he has to play his home tournament. Felix Auger-Aliassime has been struggling to get back to his 2020-2021 form. He is slowly climbing up the rankings, but every point matters. He just spent a week playing consecutive matches on a different continent, on different surface, didn't win shit. He came in 4th and now has to go to Canada to his home tournament, out of sync, probably bummed out, probably tired, going to have a difficult opponent. And he has to win because he needs points. And this is why people opt out. Because when we talk about Grand Slams give you the most points, the most money, and have the highest prestige. Nobody's going to be like, oh well, I'm not really into playing Grand Slams. I'd rather play, Queens, right? Queens 500. It's bigger than Wimbledon or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's the Grand Slam, it's the pinnacle of the sport, right? And of course, below that, you have the season-ending tournament, you have the Masters tournaments, ATP 500s, ATP 250s. I think the Olympics just do not reward lower tier players, and that's why a lot of them opt out. That's why guys like, I don't know, Ben Shelton didn't go, because Ben Shelton was thinking like, listen, it's on clay. I'm not going to win this tournament. I might win a match or two or something like that. I'm going to be in Paris on a different court, different continent, different surface. I could just go to America, my home continent, my home country, play there, win points, try to improve my ranking. I'm going to be defending a US Open semifinal. If I suck there, I'm going to fall out of the top 20, top 30. This is really important for me. So why would I bother going to fucking Paris when I could just go there, earn points, earn money, and try to protect my ranking? So I think the players who are good, but not good enough to actually win the tournament, are getting totally fucked by the Olympics, and that's why a lot of them opt out. So if there is a group of players who really wants to win the Olympics, and there's a group of players who are like, nah, this is shit, I think the mixture of that gives you the actual value of the Olympics, which is not that high. Now, of course, it really meant a lot for Novak to win the Olympics, but to me, even Yannick Sinner is a great example for this. Yes, he was sick, but do you really think that if this was the US Open, Yannick Sinner wouldn't participate in this tournament? Like, come on. And for Yannick Sinner, he wants to be the number one player in the world. He wants to win the year-end number one. He's ahead of Alcaraz in the race for, I don't know, a couple of 100 points maybe. He has to defend Toronto title right now, and then he doesn't defend a lot of points in Cincinnati and the US Open, but after that, I mean, it's going to be difficult for Yannick Sinner to keep the number one spot. So he's like, why would I even bother playing the Olympics when I could just go there in Canada and, prepare for something that actually matters, that actually gives out points? So that's why I don't understand why doesn't the Olympics actually give out points to players. It's really important for them. For Novak, it's kind of a situational thing. He has won everything. For him, the rankings do not really matter. Of course, he wants to be in the top four because of the draws, but it's like he wanted to win that Olympics. So it's kind of like it kind of screws over the guys from like, I don't know, 5, 6 to until like 20 or even lower than that. And then of course you have like semi-random players who haven't even played singles matches in years entering the draw, which is totally ridiculous. You have countries represented that, honestly, I understand that you're trying to include every country, every possible country, every continent, all that. But it's like, there shouldn't be guys ranked number 200, 300 from random countries playing in the Olympics. Like, it's just, honestly, it kind of devalues the difficulty of that tournament. So that's why personally I never thought that the Olympics are that important. It would not have mattered if Novak would have lost. I still have the opinion that the Olympics are actually below the ATP finals. And I think people thought this way for a long period of time. And this whole Olympics are important. Oh, jeez, I can't even talk anymore. Olympics are important thing kind of came up because Novak never won it. So, of course, this was kind of the last big argument, especially for Rafa fans, that Rafa has, completed tennis. He has the Golden Slam and whatever. But now it's like, I guess now we go back to Olympics aren't really important, right? Anyways, one more thing I wanted to say. Novak has 99 tournaments, 99 singles tournaments. The record is 109 for Jimmy Connors. Federer has 103. I think 103 is really realistic. 109, I think he can do it. Like, obviously, if he wants to break that record, he can easily just play 250s and stat pad. He would do it in a year. But I don't think that's Novak. So when I was thinking about like future goals, because now of course there is a danger of Novak losing motivation. Personally, I don't think he's going to play Cincinnati despite him defending the title there. I think he's obviously going to play US Open. And I think he mentioned that he wants to play Shanghai, which is great. I did not like that he made a 2 month break last year after the US Open, basically. Like, I understand that you don't want to go to a different continent, but come on, man, it's a Masters tournament, you can go there. So I'm happy that he's going to play Shanghai. At least that's what he told. I was thinking about future goals. Now, obviously, tournament number 100 would have been epic, especially if it's 125 at the US Open. And of course, the fifth US Open title would break the tie with Rafael Nadal and tie him with Roger Federer. There's still the elusive number 8 Wimbledon, although Alcaraz, I think in the future, is going to be even nastier for him at Wimbledon. I think on grass, it's a really bad matchup for Novak, which is interesting. Novak has 7 Wimbledon titles and only 3 clay Grand Slam titles, but for some reason I think it's almost like impossible for him to match Carlitos's touch, volleys, passing shots, and all that, explosive forehands on grass. Like, he really has to play out of his mind to beat Carlos on grass. I think he has objectively in a best of 5 match really good chances versus him on hardcore, and I think Clay is always going to be interesting with Alcaraz. But anyways, that's a topic for a different video. I think Novak, what else can be motivating for him? Obviously Davis Cup, obviously that 109 titles. Masters tournaments. I think there is that thing that he needs one more Monte Carlo tournament to have the triple career Golden Masters, right? Which is low key could be a motivation. But the problem with that, it's the beginning of the clay season, the slowest clay court, and there's just no motivation for Novak. Unless he actually says that, oh, I want to win that tournament specifically. What else can he do? Wimbledon number 8. I mean, French Open number 4, obviously, okay. Australia number 11. But there is no, like, actual goals. Maybe that weird breaking Margaret Court's record. But he already has tied that, so I don't think that there is much to do. 500 weeks, I think it's kind of impossible for him at number 1 because he would have to play more tournaments. So yeah. Okay, so I think this was a long-ass recap. I said a bunch of random things, random thoughts. Thank you very much for watching, and see you.